From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, September the 12th, 2025. 2 people were injured in a terror attack this morning outside Jerusalem. Israel police said emergency dispatch received reports of a stabbing attack at a hotel in Kibbutz Tzuba, injuring several. An off-duty officer intervened at the scene, it said, subdued the terrorist who is from Shoefat in East Jerusalem and made the arrest. A police investigation is underway with large forces securing the scene. The Palestinian terrorist apparently worked at the hotel. The wounded are a 50-year-old man who was seriously hurt and a 23-year-old man who was moderately hurt. They were taken to the hospital for treatment. The United Nations passed a non-binding resolution today to endorse a declaration for a 2-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians without terror group Hamas being a part of it. 142 countries voted in favor, 10 against, including the United States and Israel, who oppose such unilateral actions, and 12 countries abstained. Deputy U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Morgan Ortagus, called the resolution another misguided and ill-timed publicity stunt that undermines serious diplomatic efforts to end the conflict, saying this war could end tomorrow if Hamas was disarmed, released hostages, and surrendered. Israel's foreign ministry said it utterly rejects the decision of the UN General Assembly and noted that in the dozens of clauses of the declaration endorsed by this resolution, there is not a single mention that Hamas is a terrorist organization. There is no reference to the simple fact that Hamas is solely responsible for the continuation of the war through its refusal to return the hostages and disarm. The resolution does not advance a solution of peace. On the contrary, it encourages Hamas to continue the war. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be in Israel in the coming days. The State Department said today that Rubio will travel to Israel and the United Kingdom from September the 13th through the 18th. In Israel, it wrote, he will convey America's priorities in the Israel-Hamas conflict and broader issues concerning Middle Eastern security, reaffirming U.S. commitment to Israeli security, and will emphasize, it wrote, our shared goals, ensuring Hamas never rules over Gaza again and bringing all the hostages home. Saying Rubio will discuss Israeli operational goals with Israeli leaders and our commitment, it said, to fight anti-Israel actions, including unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state that rewards Hamas terrorism, and lawfare at the ICC and ICJ. Saying the secretary will also meet with the families of hostages and underscore that their relatives' returns remains a top priority. The 48 hostages who remain held by terror group Hamas in Gaza have now been captive for 707 days. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke over the phone with recently released Israeli-Russian grad student Elizabeth Surkov, who was kidnapped and held in Iraq for the past 2.5 years. The Prime Minister's office said last night that she described to the Prime Minister the harsh conditions in which she had been held and her hope for the return of all of the hostages being held in Gaza. Netanyahu telling her he was working for the return of all of our hostages and would continue to do so relentlessly and with determination. Netanyahu expressing appreciation for the assistance of many elements involved in Surkov's release, especially, it said, U.S. President Donald Trump, Secretary of State Rubio, and Special Envoy Bowler, and for the activity of the coordinator for the hostages and the missing, IDF Brigadier General in Reserve Gal Hirsch. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, September the 12th. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8:30, Justin Pine speaks with Elana Stein Hain about her program Texting. At 9:30, Abigail Pogrebin speaks with Menachem Rosensaft. At 10, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch delivers his weekly sermon. At 10:30, a replay from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up next, a look at this week's Torah Portion. And a programming note for you for tomorrow, Saturday, with Slichot services here on JBS, live from Central Synagogue at 9:15 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, followed by live services from the Hampton Synagogue at 10:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. As always, more information can be found on our website, jbstv.org. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, September the 12th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.